Yo, what is UP Dub Nation? Listen, I need every single one of you to sit down because what just happened on TNT is going to break the entire NBA internet, and I am still processing it. Draymond Green, our emotional leader, the heart and soul of this franchise, just appeared on Inside the NBA as a guest analyst and absolutely went off about what the Warriors need to do this offseason. And in the process, he dropped information that he was clearly not supposed to share publicly. He named a target. He laid out a trade framework. He even recruited the player on live television. Charles Barkley, Shaq, and Kenny all sat there with their mouths open. Let me tell you what happened. So here's the setup. TNT invites Draymond to guest analyze during the playoff coverage. They're discussing the Cavaliers-Pistons series, specifically Donovan Mitchell's incredible 39-point second half in Game 4 that tied an NBA playoff record. Ernie Johnson turns to Draymond and asks, when you see a player performing like Donovan Mitchell in these playoffs, what goes through your mind? And Draymond went off. He didn't give an analyst's answer. He got personal. He leaned back with that signature Draymond intensity and said, I'll tell you exactly what goes through my mind. I think about Steph Curry. Steph is 38 years old, still averaging 26.6 points per game when healthy, and we just went 37 and 45. We missed the playoffs. Yeah, we beat the Clippers in the play-in, and Steph had 35 points with that dagger, 3 with 50.4 seconds left, but then we went home. That's not acceptable. And when I see a player like Mitchell scoring 39 and a half, I think that is what we need next to Steph. A guy who is 29 years old in his prime who can score like that on the biggest stage. Barkley immediately jumped in. Draymond, are you saying the Warriors should trade for Donovan Mitchell? And instead of deflecting, Draymond leaned into it. He said, Chuck, I'm saying the Warriors have the greatest shooter in history in Stephen Curry. We have Steve Kerr, who just signed a 2-year extension because he believes we can still compete. We have a championship infrastructure that nobody else can match. But we are wasting Steph's final years. And when I look at players who might be available this summer, players averaging nearly 28 points per game, 7-time All-Stars, players whose teams might explore trades if an extension isn't signed, I see one name that makes perfect sense. And everybody watching right now knows exactly who I'm talking about. Bro, the set went quiet. Shaq's eyes went wide. Kenny turned his head in disbelief. Draymond just essentially confirmed on national television that the Warriors want Donovan Mitchell. 7-time All-Star. 28 PPG extension uncertainty. That's Mitchell and only Mitchell. And then Kenny brought up the financial angle, pointing out Mitchell's $50.1 million salary, and Draymond's answer was stunning. He said, Kenny, we have Jimmy Butler's expiring contract at $56.8 million. Butler tore his ACL in January and won't play until 2027. That's a salary match that works. Cleveland gets a massive expiring that clears their books. We add our 11th overall pick in a historically deep draft with Debonsa, Peterson, and Boozer at the top. We add future picks. That's a real trade package. I know for a fact that our front office has explored the financial mechanics of this. The entire set erupted. Barkley was laughing, saying, this man just laid out the whole trade on live TV. Shaq said, they're gonna fine you for this. And Draymond smiled and said, fine me for wanting to win. I'll pay whatever fine they give me. And then Barkley asked the question everyone was waiting for. He said, Draymond, you stomped on Domantas Sabonis' chest in the 2023 playoffs. Mitchell was on that Sacramento team back then as a... Wait, Mitchell was on Utah. But still, people are going to wonder about the locker room dynamics with a player you've had heated battles against in the playoffs. And Draymond addressed it head on. He said, Chuck, let me be clear. I've had battles with a lot of guys in this league. That's called competition, and Donovan Mitchell is one of the most competitive players I've ever faced. Every time we've played against him, whether it was Utah or Cleveland, the guy brings fire, and that fire is exactly what we need in our locker room. I'm a competitor. He's a competitor. Put two competitors together who both want championships, and you get magic. Personal feelings don't win titles. The right players win titles. And I've told our front office directly that I am 100% on board with pursuing the best available talent this summer, period. And then Draymond broke down the basketball fit in a way that gave me chills. He said, think about what Steph does off the ball. He runs 2.5 miles a game through screens, cutting, relocating. Defenders are exhausted chasing him. Now give Steph a ball handler like Mitchell who can attack the paint, draw help, and kick it to Steph for open threes. That's the KD formula all over again. When KD was here, he handled the ball, attacked, and found Steph for open looks. Steph's efficiency went up with a second creator. Mitchell would have the same effect. He attacks downhill, the defense rotates, Steph is wide open. Splash. Game over. He continued. And it works both ways. When Mitchell has the ball and defenders try to go under the screen because they're worried about his drive, Steph sets the screen and pops to the three-point line. Mitchell hits him, wide open three, or the defense traps Mitchell and Steph slips the screen and cuts to the basket for a layup. Every action creates a good shot. There is no defensive answer when you have two guards of that caliber operating together. And then came the moment that will be replayed for weeks. As the segment was ending, Draymond looked directly into the camera and said, "I want to speak to a specific player right now. You just scored 39 and a half. You're one of the best playoff performers in the league, and you have a decision to make this summer. If you're thinking about where you can win a championship, if you're thinking about playing alongside the greatest shooter who ever lived in a system that makes everyone better, coached by Steve Kerr, who just committed to 2 more years, Golden State is the answer. The Bay is ready. Are you? I almost fell out of my chair." Draymond Green just recruited Donovan Mitchell on national television on TNT. During playoff coverage, in front of millions of viewers, Barkley was dying laughing, Shaq was shaking his head, and Draymond sat there stone cold, completely unbothered, like a man who said exactly what he meant to say. And let me tell you why Draymond's pitch was so powerful, because he wasn't just offering Mitchell a basketball fit, he was offering him a legacy. Think about what playing alongside Steph Curry means for a player's career. Curry is universally regarded as the greatest shooter in NBA history. He's changed the way basketball is played worldwide, and every single player who has played alongside Curry in his prime has been elevated. Klay Thompson became a 5-time All-Star. Kevin Durant won 2 Finals MVPs. Andrew Wiggins became an All-Star starter in 2022. Even Gui Santos, a young developing wing, just had 20 points in the play-in game against the Clippers this season. The Curry effect is real. And for a player like Mitchell, who has been a 7-time All-Star but has never made it past the second round of the playoffs, the opportunity to play alongside Curry could be the difference between a great career and a legendary one. And let me break down the specific on-court scenarios that make this pairing so terrifying. Imagine Mitchell and Curry running off-ball action together. Curry sets a screen for Mitchell on the left wing. Mitchell comes off it and attacks the paint. The help defender rotates to stop Mitchell's drive. Mitchell kicks it out to Curry, who's now wide open on the three-point line because the defense had to choose between covering Mitchell's drive and Curry's three. Curry catches it. Bang, three-pointer. Chase Center goes insane. That's a play that happens 20 times a game with those two on the floor together, and there is literally no defensive scheme in the history of basketball that can stop it consistently or flip it. Curry comes off a down screen. The defender goes over to contest the three. Curry rejects the screen and drives to the basket. Help comes from Mitchell's man. Curry whips the ball to Mitchell in the corner. Mitchell, who shot 36.4% from 3 this season on 48. 3% from the field overall, is wide open. Splash. The gravity these two create for each other would make every other player on the roster better. Porzingis gets more open threes because defenses are scrambling. Draymond gets more passing lanes because the defense is overreacting. The entire offensive ecosystem transforms. I also want to address the Cleveland situation because it's critical to understanding why this trade could happen. The Cavaliers made a massive midseason move, trading their homegrown point guard Darius Garland to the Los Angeles Clippers for 36-year-old James Harden. Harden played well in 26 games, averaging 20.5 points and 7.7 assists. But Harden has a $42 million player option this summer and is widely expected to decline it, seeking a longer-term deal elsewhere. So if the Cavaliers lose Game 7 today and Harden walks in free agency, Cleveland is staring at a situation where they've lost Garland and Harden and Mitchell won't commit to an extension. That's a nightmare scenario for their front office. And in that nightmare, trading Mitchell for real assets like Butler's massive expiring plus a lottery pick becomes not just a possibility, but a necessity. The Warriors are positioned perfectly to capitalize on Cleveland's potential desperation. And there's one more angle that I think is being massively overlooked. The play-in win over the Clippers proved that the Warriors can still compete when it matters. Curry had 35 points in that game, including a dagger 3 with 50.4 seconds left that sealed the win. Al Horford hit back-to-back threes in the fourth quarter to swing the momentum. Gui Santos had 20 points and showed he belongs on a playoff roster. Even though the Warriors finished 37-45, that play-in performance showed that the culture is still there. The championship DNA is still there. The ability to win big games is still there. What's missing is a second star who can share the scoring burden with Curry so that Steph doesn't have to carry the team on his 38-year-old shoulders every single night. Mitchell is that second star, and the play-in win is the proof that this team, with the right addition, can jump from 37 wins to 50 plus. Now let me give you my analysis. The Curry-Mitchell backcourt would be the most lethal guard duo in the NBA. Curry at 38 is still averaging 26.6 when healthy. Mitchell at 29 just averaged 27.9. Combined, that's potentially 55 points per game from your backcourt, and the efficiency would be off the charts because each player creates gravity that opens up the other. Curry's off-ball movement is the most valuable weapon in basketball. Mitchell's on-ball creation is elite. Together, they'd create an offensive ecosystem that defenses simply cannot solve. The historical parallel is the KD era. When Durant joined in 2016, skeptics said two ball-dominant scorers couldn't coexist. Kerr proved them wrong. He staggered minutes, designed plays for both to operate, and the result was 2 championships. Mitchell isn't KD, but the concept is identical. A secondary scorer who can ISO and create while Curry does what he does best. Kerr has the blueprint. He's done this before. The financial mechanics work perfectly. Butler's 56.8 a-year expiring matches Mitchell's 50.1 mirrors. The 11th pick in a class with Dybonsa, Peterson, and Boozer sweetens it. Future picks make it irresistible for a Cleveland team potentially heading toward a rebuild. And unlike other suitors, the Warriors wouldn't have to gut their core. Porzingis stays. Draymond stays. The supporting cast remains intact around a Curry-Mitchell-Porzingis-Draymond 4 that can compete with anyone. Game 7 of Cavs-Pistons is today. If Cleveland loses, this trade becomes very real. Mitchell has never made a conference finals in 4 years with the Cavs. The frustration has to be building, and the Warriors, with their championship culture, their coaching stability, and Stephen Curry, offer the ultimate destination for a player hungry for his first ring. Dub Nation, I need you in the comments immediately. Can you picture a Curry-Mitchell backcourt at Chase Center? Would you send Butler's expiring in the 11th pick? Was Draymond's recruitment the greatest thing ever seen on live TV? Drop everything below, smash that like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. The Dynasty might have one more chapter. Stay tuned, Dub Nation.